There are 5 things you should do at the start of every game. First, put a pawn in the center. This is always a good first move. Second, develop your knights. You and I are fighting to control the center and put our pieces in good places. Third, develop your bishops. This is a good square for your bishop because it attacks several squares in my camp. Fourth, don't let me take your pieces for free. Defend your pawn on e4. Good. Now your pawn is protected from my knight. Fifth, castle as soon as possible. You can do this by moving your king to g1. I too need to castle. Using these 5 principles, your army quickly deploys to maximize its lethal potential. Now let's practice the 5 principles. Putting a pawn in the center is always a good first move. Your turn. A strategic move popular among grandmasters, but I want my students to begin by playing their king's pawn to e4 instead. Let's go back and start with that move. Now let's practice the 5 principles. Putting a pawn in the center is always a good first move. Your turn. Right. Now develop a piece and attack the center. This is an excellent move that attacks the center and targets the focal point on f7. Let's go again. Practice makes perfect. I will try different moves against you so you can learn how to apply the principles in different situations. That's it. This is called the Sicilian defense. Never go up against a Sicilian when death is on the line. Very good. Let's look at another example. Let's start from this position. What should you play? You remembered. A nice move, developing your bishop and preparing to castle. Let's go further into the game and see how the 5 principles apply. As usual, start with your pawn. Following our first principle, I will also put a pawn in the center. Our second opening principle is to develop the knights. Move yours to f3. Your knight is attacking my pawn on e5. The best way for me to defend is to follow our principle and develop a knight that also protects my pawn. With a pawn in the center and a knight developed, it's time to bring your bishop to c4. Following our opening principles, I will do the same. With a pawn in the center and your knight and bishop developed, it's time to castle. I would like to castle too, but I have to develop my knight first. My knight attacks your pawn on e4. Push your pawn to d3 to defend. Now I can castle. Continue your development by moving your knight to c3. I need to develop my bishop on c8 next, but before I do, I have to move a pawn. Complete your development by moving your bishop to g5. I will also bring my last minor piece into the game. Both our armies are well developed. This will be an exciting game. Now let's get some practice with that opening setup. Start by moving your pawn to e4. I will also put a pawn in the center. Next, let's bring out the knights. Move yours to f3. Again, your knight attacks my pawn and I will develop my knight to defend it. Now, think about our opening principles. What is a good move here that you could play? This move attacks the center and opens a diagonal for your bishop in line with our principles. Well played. Let's begin again by moving your pawn to e4. And I will also move my pawn to the center. Just as before, develop your knight to f3 and attack my pawn. I will defend with my queen. Developing the queen early is usually a bad idea, and this is no exception. What is a natural opening move that you could play here? Attacking the center and opening a diagonal for your bishop. That'll do nicely. Once again, start by moving your pawn to e4. I will also put a pawn in the center. And again, develop your knight to f3. I will break with our principles and develop a bishop before my knight. Your move. That is a good move according to our principles, but there is an even better move here. Look for a capture. Your move. That's it. Following principles is important, but you also have to look for opportunities to win material. Dr. Wolf has something interesting to show you. Start as usual. I will challenge you directly. This is called the Scandinavian defense. You can't ignore my threat. Capture my pawn on d5. Sorry, that wasn't the right move. Let's go back and look again. This is called the Scandinavian defense. You can't ignore my threat. Capture my pawn on d5. Bringing out the queen early is not a good idea, but here it is the only way for me to recapture. Now develop your knight and attack my queen. I must waste time to safeguard my queen. Before continuing to develop, move your pawn to d4 to put a pawn in the center. Our second principle is to bring out a knight. Here I go. Your turn to follow the second principle. Now I will develop my bishop and attack your knight. Calmly continue developing by moving your bishop to e2. You're ready to castle on the next turn. Castle your king. I have one more piece to develop, but I have to move a pawn before I can bring it out. Move your bishop to e3. In only 8 moves, you've completed your development. All right, let's go back a few moves in the Scandinavian defense and let you try it for yourself. I'll play this. Your turn. Developing a piece is an excellent idea. Well played. The 5 principles can always help you find a good move in the opening. Let's say I play this. Your turn. Nice job noticing that your bishop was in danger. My turn. I think I will check your king. How will you reply? Blocking the check and developing a piece. Well played. Another excellent way to open the game is by putting your pawn on d4. My pawn will confer with yours. Next come the knights. Develop your knight to f3. Again, I will follow our principles and develop a knight on my second move as well. Now bring out your bishop to f4. This is an excellent square for your bishop. Now move your pawn to e3 and make way for your other bishop. Following our opening principles, I'm going to move my bishop in order to castle as soon as possible. Bring your bishop to d3 so that you can castle. Your bishops are well placed to patrol the board. Whoops! Pushing my pawn to c6 didn't accomplish anything. I should remember the principles. For you, the principles would suggest developing your knight to d2. You have 4 pieces developed, and I only have 2. I need to catch up. Complete your development and castle your king. I would like to develop my bishop on c8, but it has nowhere to go. I'm going to castle instead. In only 7 moves, you have completed your development and castled. A challenge for you. Castle in only 2 moves. That's it. And now? Well played. Now let's make this challenge a little harder. Your challenge is to castle kingside in only 3 moves. Good luck. Nice move, preparing to bring out your bishop. I've developed my bishop and now I am ready to castle. Your turn. That's an excellent square for the bishop. Your turn. Nice job solving the challenge. I have another one for you. Just like in our last example, you want to develop your pieces and castle. Start by developing your knight. This is not a bad move, but start by developing your other knight so that you can castle as soon as possible on the king side. Just like in our last example, you want to develop your pieces and castle. Start by developing your knight. That's it. Now you're 1 move closer to castling. I developed my bishop so that I can castle on the next move. Where will you develop your bishop? Now your bishop is patrolling both sides of the board. I castled. How will you continue your development? Following our opening principles, I'm going to develop another piece. How can you complete your development? Nice job developing all of your pieces. If you can achieve this in the opening, you will have a successful middle game. In this challenge, your pawn on c4 is hanging. How can you defend this pawn and castle kingside as quickly as possible? Now your bishop defends the pawn on c4. Nice move. How can you castle kingside in 2 moves? That's it. Your turn. Nice job applying our principles and completing your development. Let's try the principles in another situation. Start with your king pawn. I will play a different defensive setup. Your muscle memory should start to take over. Move your knight to f3. My turn to bring out a knight. My knight attacks your pawn. Develop your knight to c3 and defend. Let me try something a little different. My plan is to develop my bishop to g7, but first, develop yours to c4. Now my bishop will occupy the longest diagonal. It's time to castle. I will also follow the principles and castle. Move your pawn to d3 to make way for your bishop. I could develop my knight or my bishop. A good rule of thumb is knights should come out before bishops. Now develop your bishop to e3. Your bishop patrols both sides of the board. We have set the stage for an intense battle. My turn. I think I will develop my knight and attack your pawn. How will you reply? Protecting your pawn and opening up a diagonal for your other bishop to come out into the game. Nice move. Let's say I'm a bold, aggressive fellow and I take your pawn. Your move. Well played. Thoughtless aggression got me nothing but a bloody nose. All right, new position, my turn. I developed my bishop to attack your knight. Your move. Opening a diagonal for your bishop is a great idea. Well played. In this challenge, you will have to be on your toes. Developing my knight attacks your pawn on e4 a second time. How will you respond? Pushing your attacked pawn is an excellent idea. Well played. Let's look at the Spanish, one of the most popular openings. Move your pawn to e4. Both sides begin by moving the king's pawn to the center. Develop your knight to f3 and attack my pawn. Following the principles, I will develop a knight and defend the pawn. Now develop your bishop to b5. This move is the hallmark of the Spanish. I am attacking your bishop. Retreat to safety on a4. Here comes my other knight. Threatening your pawn on e4. Push your pawn to d3 to defend. Now I will attack your bishop again. Retreat once more to b3. Back to developing. Time to bring out a bishop. You're ready to castle. And I will do the same. Continue developing. We both have one bishop left to develop. I will place mine on b7. Complete your development by moving your bishop to g5. Our pieces are well placed for the strategic battle that lies ahead. Now let's get some practice. I'll play this. What will you play? That's it. All right, let's go back and I'll try something else. What is a good move that you could play here? Castling is an excellent idea. You're getting a solid feel for how to play the opening. Let's say I develop my knight and attack your pawn on e4. How will you respond? Defending your pawn and opening up a diagonal for your bishop. That's a great move. Let's look at a common trap that ensnares beginners. Start as usual. I will follow suit and put a pawn in the center. For this example, move your knight to c3. Now I will develop normally. Continue by moving your bishop to c4. Seeking a hasty victory, I bring my queen out early. My plan is to checkmate you on f2. This move violates our principles and can be punished. Move your pawn to g3. Having moved my queen once, now I must move her again and fall further behind in development. I again threaten checkmate on f2. Develop naturally and move your knight to f3, preventing this. Your queen defends your knight, so I cannot capture it. I have one idea left. My queen and bishop battery point at your f2 pawn, but there is no reason to panic. Castle your king and complete your development. I wasted 3 moves with my queen while you calmly developed your pieces and castled your king. Your position is far superior to mine. Let's see how you respond to this attack. Your move. Well played. Again, I have violated the opening rules by bringing out my queen early. Do you see the best way to stop my checkmate threat? There is a capture here that will end my attack. Try again and look for captures. Again, I have violated the opening rules by bringing out my queen early. Do you see the best way to stop my checkmate threat? Kudos on seeing this capture. I have one final challenge for you. Dear student, let's see what you've learned. My queen radiates menace. What can you do? There are many moves here that develop and defend your pawn on e4, but that is not one of them. Let's go back and this time find a move that defends your pawn. My queen radiates menace. What can you do? Developing and defending. I see. I will apply more pressure. My knight and queen are teaming up to cause you a problem. Can you solve it with a principled move? Attacking my queen is a clever solution. Well done. Good work completing this lesson. If you put a pawn in the center, develop your pieces and castle quickly, you will succeed in the opening.